Welcome back. Chapter 7 is about learning. How do we learn? What is learning? Well, generally speaking, learning is just a collection of techniques, procedures, and outcomes that produce a change in behavior. I'm sure you've heard the terms classical conditioning, operant conditioning. Are those familiar? When we talk about classical conditioning, it's when a neutral stimulus produces a response after being paired with a stimulus that naturally produces a response. So you've heard of Pavlov's dog. That's classical conditioning. What Pavlov did was first he presented a dog with food, and naturally the dog's mouth began to water. Okay, then he rang a bell. Nothing. Dog's mouth did not water. Then he paired the food with the bell. The dog's mouth began to water. And over time, he just began to ring the bell. And when he rang the bell, the dog's mouth would begin to water. Okay, so that is an example of classical conditioning. Operant conditioning is a bit different. Okay, it's when the consequence of a behavior determines whether that behavior will be repeated in the future. Okay, so this has to do with reinforcements, punishments, right? So if we reinforce a behavior, it usually will reproduce, right? If we punish a behavior, typically you will no longer see that behavior, right? So that's operant conditioning. Negative reinforcement involves the removal of something unpleasant from an environment. So when a parent says, I'm gonna stop the car, when the parent stops the car, they get a reward. The children stop screaming. Okay? Negative reinforcement. We remove something, so then we get our desired outcome. Great. So, moving forward a little bit. When we talk about behavior, some of us engage in things that are superstition, right? We have these superstitions, so we'll engage in behaviors that we believe are going to diffuse this whole superstition of ours, right? A lot of football players or other sports players will wear the same shirt under their jersey. They believe that that's going to bring them good luck, or they'll engage in some ritual time and time again before a game. They believe that that's going to bring them good luck, right? We have these superstitions. B.F. Skinner believed that superstitions resulted in unintended reinforcement of inconsequential behavior. Then there's observational learning, right? It is pretty much what it sounds like. You're observing something and you learn through observation. So children do this all the time, right? Children watch us and then they'll mimic our behaviors, right? They watch us do something, and this is how we teach children too, right? Teach them how to eat, how to bring a spoon to their mouth, or how to use two hands when they're drinking from a cup and whatnot. We also learn it, and coaches use it. When they're coaching athletes, they show them the different skills and techniques, and the athletes will repeat what they've seen the coaches do. So that's more of observational learning. Distributed practice. This is when studying well in advance so that you can take breaks, instead of cramming last minute, you're distributing it, right? So you're studying in increments. That's distributed practice. So then you can distribute study time, for instance, and it usually produces a better outcome than just cramming last minute. So learning, right? There are lots of ways to learn. You can learn through observation. There's hands-on learning. There's classical conditioning. There's operant conditioning, reinforcement, punishments. Get on that Moodle page, read your chapters, watch your videos, and next week we will be discussing emotion and motivation. Okay, get on there. See you next time. Take care.